Hello my dear community. I'm back. Hope you actually miss me. Let's start our story today. My name is Dale Farmer, now 34, but I have always been a geek since high school until now. Somewhere I had grown a spine, and now I can stand up for myself. I took karate to control my frustration and anger. It made me feel more settled within myself. I had always gotten straight A's in chemistry, and as a result, I got a job as a chemist making knockout gas for dentists, as well as making a few specialties for the government every now and again. I have a couple of hobbies that don't have anything to do with work. They help me unplug and take a step back when I need to. I met a good-looking girl right out of high school. Her name is Shirley, and she seemed like a goddess to me then. But now she has that girl next door look. I loved her to pieces. I really did, until I stopped by to see my friend at the electronics store he runs. Hey there Jimmy. I'm helping the kid next door out with a school project. Ever since his old man cut out, we struck up a friendship of sorts. Jimmy rolled his eyes and chuckled. This isn't another volcano thing you guys are working on, is it? The last time I sold you stuff for that, I heard the gym about caught on fire. I acted offended. When you want to make Pompeii come to life, you never do anything below par on that. We both broke out laughing. No, nothing like that. He wants to do an earthquake kind of thing. I know where you keep the stuff I need. But I think if we put some small cameras inside, you can show how it works below ground as well as on top. So show me what you got, and I'll be right back. I picked out what I needed, and a few things I didn't, then headed back to the counter. Okay Jim, show me what you got. We have the usual cameras and crap, but I want to show you this. It was like a small cone shape with the wire hanging out on the small end. It was half an inch long in total length. They run on those small hearing aid batteries, but the picture they take is out of this world for both sharp and clear pictures, and you can set it up for panoramic shots as well. But the best thing is they can record the video for 72 hours before you need to change the battery. The wire out the back sends it to any monitor, TV screen, or computer with no problem. He could almost hear the gears turning inside my head. Tell you what I'll do, I will throw in a 5-pack of the video pens we just got in. We haven't tried them out yet, so you'll be our test dummy. What do you think? He asked. You drive a hard bargain. I stuck out my hand. You got a deal. He showed me how to activate the pen cams, as well as the cone cams. He put it all in a box, and I took off to make Brian's day. I got home a couple of hours before Shirley. I played with the cameras for a while, linking them to my computer like the instructions said, and then spent the next 30 minutes playing with the zoom and adjusting the lens to see how the video came out. Okay, I'll come clean. I put one on the top of my dresser, and then jumped up and down on the bed for a minute. Then I put the rest of the stuff on the end of the dresser until Brian and I could install them in his project. It was Thursday and Brian and I could only do it Saturday afternoon. I left everything there and went downstairs to start dinner. Shirley came in an hour later and she didn't look too happy. You cooked dinner, bless you. Then she gave me a peck on the cheek while I tended to the salmon on the stove. I'll take a shower and be back down to help. Sounds like somebody had a bad day, I said. Can we talk about it after dinner? I just want to get a shower and relax with a glass of wine, she sighed. Well, hurry up, I will be done soon, and cold salmon doesn't taste good. She gave me a smile and a kiss. When she came back down, I had already plated the salmon. I received a call from work and was talking on the phone to the CEO of the plant. Come on Jerry, you know I only get to have a half-day Saturday and all-day Sunday off. Why don't you call Terry or Jeff to cover the demo? They know as much as I do about it. They'll do just fine. I looked over at Shirley. With that I can't get out of it look. Yeah, I understand. Then I ended the call. Well, it looks like us going out for dinner Saturday night isn't happening. We have a demonstration for a government group, and Jerry made it clear that he wants me to take the lead on it. Hell, it's so simple that Ernie the janitor could do it with no problems. He keeps me on call and lets the other guys slide. In the past month he's pulled this crap so often that we've only had one weekend to ourselves. I'm putting out feelers for another job. I know we've known Jerry and Samantha going on 8 years now, but I'm tired of him pulling this sheep all the time. Shirley choked on her drink of wine. You can't do that, honey. Nobody will pay you as much as Jerry does. Besides, who would let you get away with working on your hobbies on company time? Dale, baby, let me call Samantha and see if she could get him to lighten up on you. Just don't do anything crazy until I talk to her, okay? I guess, but don't take too long or I'll just quit and walk the duck out on him. I'm tired of getting the shaft all the time. Being so pissed off at the time, my mind didn't understand how she knew that I worked on some of my personal projects at work. The next morning I wanted to call the guys up and tell them to finish up all the old projects, because I wanted us to try something new. I came out of the shower and dried off. I picked up the house phone and got the shock of my life. You know how much I love sucking that big fat clock of yours, but if you don't back off a bit he will quit his job and walk out. With what he knows about chemistry and understands how to mix them safely, he won't have any problem getting a better job. He'll be here all the time, and that will stop our little get-togethers because we can't have them with him here. She sighed. In a year or two when he gets his big promotion, I'll take him to the cleaners in the divorce. Then a couple of months later you can kick that witch Samantha to the curb. Then we can have her arrested after we plant the evidence, and then we're home free. He's so smart but so dumb. If he hasn't caught us in the past 4 years he never will. I want to puke when I have to play the friend act with him. I should have had him killed, instead of telling you of the plan. You blew it up into something from a crime novel. We would already have the monies coming in from his patents and living on a beach in Aruba. But you wanted it all before leaving. I just wanted you. You want all the money. Instead, you just put me and my big clock on the back burner until you want to play with it again. Jury said. That's not true, lover. I'll show you how much on Saturday after he leaves for work. He's due to tromp down the stairs expecting me to have his breakfast ready. Just keep thinking Saturday. Then she hung up. Honey, you're going to be late, so hurry it up, she yelled up the stairs. I shook myself awake, then I put down the receiver in my hand slowly. Then, hardly noticing it, I finished getting dressed and went downstairs. She put 2 eggs and 2 slices of bread, along with a couple of pre-cooked sausage links on a plate, setting it in front of my chair. Then she poured some coffee into a mug and set it beside the plate. I'm not hungry anymore, thanks. I picked up my briefcase and started for the door. What about my kiss, baby? She had a confused look on her face. I opened the front door as she came hustling around the table towards the door. Just as she got there and pursed her lips, I'm running late, I said, and pulled the door close. Don't ask me how, but I got into the car and a second later, I was pulling into my parking spot at work. I saw Jerry holding his hand up to the phone so no one could hear. He kept looking at me. He had the look of someone trying to figure out a problem. Around 11 a.m., Jerry came into my office. How's it going, Dale? You look like you have something on your mind. Anything I can do for you, buddy? I got up from my chair and walked right past him. Then I headed through the door of my office. I'm working. I have to check on a few things. I just left him standing there. I found our processing manager. Hey Reggie, your son-in-law's still up high. Yeah, he's still working at it. Hopes he'll get a solid case so he can play in the big leagues. He looked me in the face. You look like you want some help with the problem. Dale, he wrote down his address. I'll give him a call and let him know you're coming. Anything else? No, my friend, just getting my ducks in their proper rows if I need them. I leaned in closer. Keep your head down when it gets nasty here. I gave him a pat on the shoulder, then walked away. Reggie and I had known each other since the 7th grade. He knew something was going to happen here, and it was going to be big. He knew I never did anything half-assed. I walked back up to my office and grabbed my jacket. I told my secretary that I might be a bit late coming back from lunch. You never take a long lunch, you always come back 10 minutes early. So spill the beans, Dale. You know I care about you. Heck, I always had your back. Lisa, now isn't the time to talk, but can I give you 2 things to think about? First, how much do you value your job here? The second is, do you have the courage to walk out of here with just your own, with just your confidence that you will find one shortly after walking out? I leaned in close. There's a sheep storm coming, and I worry that you might be found guilty by association. I've got your back as well. Think about it and then give me your answer by the end of the day, okay? I walked out for lunch knowing she was giving me a thoughtful stare. First I drove to the bank and got everything ready to go. It helped that Skylar, the bank manager, had a son who I had also helped out as well, and we became very close friends. I went to a lawyer who was recommended by a friend for the divorce. I spent a half hour there first telling him what I wanted to be done, which took 10 minutes. The other 20 minutes were giving him tips on how to brew better beer. He had pictures of him brewing all over his office wall. The last thing I did was to stop by HR, so I could give them my new account info, how much to send my investment counselor, and how my 401k was going to be divided up and sent to the right places I had indicated. After all that was taken care of, I ran across the street and ordered 2 sandwiches with fries and a couple of sodas. Then I took the elevator up to my office. As I walked up to Lisa, 1 ham and cheese with extra mayo and fries. Then I pulled a can of her favorite soda out of my jacket pocket. I would let that settle down a minute before opening it. Then I went into my office and got ready to eat my roast beef sandwich. Jerry came into my office and focused on a handful of paperwork, rattling off what he wanted me to do to fix a screw-up, probably his making, and then he looked up at me. What are you doing? Eating my lunch if you want to know, I mumbled with a mouthful of food. Eating your lunch? He asked. Yes, it's the meal in between breakfast and dinner. I thought everybody had a leg up knowing that. Well, it won't be the last time I was proven wrong. Then I took another bite. I saw Lisa walking toward the doorway of my office, then put her hand over her mouth trying to stifle her laughter, and turned back to her desk. I need you to drive to Eldon. They have a chemical spill, and the board wants our best man on the cleanup crew. You are going to have to leave Friday night and you should be back by early Tuesday evening. They've already set you up with a place to sleep, and keep your receipts for your meals so the company can reimburse you. He spits the bullshit rather well now. Fine by me, but... I stood and grabbed my jacket. Where are you going? You still have to set up the event for the government. I'll ask Fred to do the demo. He started to raise his voice. Then have Fred set it up. I have to get ready to take off. I wrapped up the other half of my sandwich. Don't worry, he'll be fine. You'll be there with him, right? Jerry's eyes narrowed enough that I could tell. Chill out, old man. You should remember enough chemistry from freshman year in high school to do it and make it look good. Remember, if you can't befuddle them with brilliance, then baffle them with bullshit. I gave his back a few slaps like you would give a small child. You got all you need to fertilize their brains. I walked out of the office. I got into my car laughing so hard, I had to fight for breath. It wouldn't have looked good with me rolling in the parking lot doing it. After I pulled out of the lot, I stopped until I could get my laughing under control. After I took a few deep breaths, I pulled the ace out of my sleeve. I pulled up my contacts and found the number I needed, then pressed the call button. Mrs. Adler. My name is Dale Farmer. Remember me? I saved your chiffon dress by getting that chocolate stain out at the Christmas party. Why yes, Dale, I remember you. I called you Mr. Science the rest of the night. Thank you again for that. I wore the same dress at our niece's wedding a month later, and it still looked excellent. So what can I do for you, my boy? Are you calling me to call your marker in while my husband is still at work? Then she laughed that stunning laugh she had. I knew she was joking. Both she and her husband like to banter back and forth like that. Mrs. Adler, it's funny that you should mention your husband. I would like to take you both to dinner tonight, if that be alright. Why sure, that would be lovely, she said. I will call Harrison now to let him know. Where should we meet you for dinner? I remember how much you both like seafood. Shall we say, the Amulet Bay at 7? I crossed my fingers. That would be perfect. I'll call Harrison, and we'll meet you there, she replied. I will be waiting for you both. Thank you for indulging me. See you then, I smiled. Thank you, dear boy. Until then she disconnected the call. They walked into the restaurant, and the waiter brought them to a secluded table in the back. I rose, kissed her hand, and then shook her husband's hand. Dale, it's good to see you again. Still mixing it up in your lab? Mr. Older asked. Excuse me, sir. But why are you calling it my lab? I don't understand. I was confused now. You don't need to call me sir outside of the plant. It's Harrison from now on. You can also call this lovely lady Gabby. None of this Mr. and Mrs. Adler nonsense, he said, giving Mrs. Adler a kiss. And why should I not call it your lab? I signed the papers for your promotion a couple of years ago. I handed them to Jerry personally. He glanced at Gabby and then back at me. I've got a bad feeling that you never knew that, did you? We paused as the waiters brought our food, and then uncorked a fine bottle of champagne, and poured a glass for all of us. I did not mean to eavesdrop, but I heard something about a promotion. This bottle is on the house. Enjoy your food, and do not hesitate to call on me if anything is amiss. The waiter left. So tell me, son, what's been going on at my company? Harrison didn't look happy at all. There's a lot of things going on, Harrison, and your CEO is in the middle of it all. Do I have permission to speak freely? Harrison nodded. Then I told them everything. Harrison brought his fist down on the table, making everything rattle. He looked over and waved the waiter away. I had no idea. Please accept my apologies, Dale. So am I correct in thinking that you will be suing us about the moral clause in the handbook? I won't, now that I know how you had been duped, Harrison, but I will be going after your CEO with a list of charges. I have an idea that will keep the company from losing face and still achieve what I need. Your wife did all of this as well. They call that being an accessory. If you take her to court, the truth will still come out. Does she have a job or just lives off of your sweat? Gabby asked. She is up for a seat on the board of Robinson's Fashions. I believe that's where the rich go shopping for clothing nowadays, I replied. Then I stood up and refilled everyone's glasses. I caught Harrison's sideways glance at his wife. You don't say. I know someone who works there. I could say a word or two to help you cause if you would like. Gabby smiled. I've been thinking, and I believe that I have a plan. I glanced at them both. An hour later we left the restaurant. Both Gabby and Harrison had a smile on their faces. You're one ruthless man, Dale Farmer. I see I made the wrong man the CEO of my company. He actually laughed out loud. So what time tomorrow should we call on you? I'd say around 8 p.m. would do nicely. I smiled. I went home and began to set my clothes out for the trip. Shirley just looked at me. I walked right by her without any type of kiss for coming home. I made dinner. Where have you been? I went out and had a couple of drinks with some friends at work. I really don't think I should eat with all the alcohol we drank. I don't want to be sick when I take off tomorrow. I'll wait for breakfast if you don't mind. Which friends? Did Jerry get drunk too? She asked pointedly. I don't remember seeing Jerry there. He must have not been invited to go with us, or something like that. I better get some sleep. I have an early day tomorrow. I took off my clothes, slept into some pajama pants, and laid down on the bed. Of course, when Shirley got done taking care of things, she came into the bedroom to find me sleeping. She lay down and didn't try to spoon with me. All she did was turn away and start texting on her phone. I was up early to greet the morning. I had felt better than I had in years. So I went down to start the coffee. Shirley came down about a half hour later. I'm glad you're up now. I have to get packing. I tried not to grin. I poured some fresh coffee for you. It really looks like you could use some. I told Shirley before heading upstairs to pack. What I really did was put the cameras I had gotten earlier around the bedroom and the guest room. As I came downstairs again, she was focused on her phone, so I was able to finish putting those pen cameras all over the place without her noticing. One for the front door, one for the back door, one covering the living room, and the last two in what she called the parlor. Pretending to look for the small luggage I use for short trips, I went down the stairs to the basement and picked up the suitcase I put down there earlier. I plugged in a new computer, then turned it on and opened all the files needed to access all the cameras, so whatever they caught would stream as well as be sent to a new cloud account I had made. I double-checked everything and then hid the laptop between a hidden gap in the ceiling. I came up the stairs, found it. I said loudly as I passed behind Shirley. He jumped so badly she almost fell off the chair. Her phone went sliding across the floor. It was about 2 p.m. when I got ready to leave. I said goodbye to Shirley and she didn't even move. So I walked over and gave her a kiss on the top of her head and told her, "Bye, see you later," and I'll be damned. There went her phone flying again. I walked out the door, got into my car, and drove off. I went to a sports bar across town, far from anyone who was involved in this. It was after a couple beers and about 5:15 p.m. when I pulled up the streaming coming from my house. I wasn't even gone for 2 hours yet, and already there was a line of clothes starting at the front door and ending halfway up the stairs. I switched to the cameras in the bedroom and there they were, running like two dogs in heat. I wondered if they knew I put a voice-activated recorder at the headboard of the bed. I didn't have time to hook it up to the streaming, but the tape it had in it should prove to be fun later on. I zoomed in on the nightstand and saw their little blue and pink pills. I went back home and let myself in the front door very quietly. I could have played AC/DC on a big boombox at maxed out volume, and they still wouldn't have heard me. I slowly walked up the stairs and made it just outside the bedroom door. I went into the bathroom, got a towel, and then came back to the door. I put on my mask and then pulled the pins on a couple of canisters I made in my lab, setting them inside the bedroom before quietly closing the door and putting the towel down the bottom of the door so the gas would stay in the room. About 20 minutes later, there wasn't a sound coming from inside the room. I chuckled as I slipped my mask back on and poked my head into the room. There they laid all tangled together. I pulled the restraints that I had bought the day before out of my closet. It was easy to tell that Jerry had been doing Shirley doggy style, so that's how I tied them together and used the rest of the rope to secure them both to the supports under the bed. I gently placed the 2 ball gags I had next to them on the bed. I went around the room opening the windows so the gas could escape. Then I looked at my watch and saw I was already 15 minutes behind schedule. After I was sure all the gas had left the room, I put the ball gags on them and connected the 2 together with 4 carabiner clips. Then I proceeded to wake them up by dumping a couple glasses of ice water on them both. I pulled the overstuffed chair next to the bed and slid down until we were at eye level. At first, they acted like they were still under the gas. I had expected that as they tried to figure out what happened and how to get loose. I pulled the cattle prod up and placed it against Jerry's ball sack, and then hit the switch for a moment. That woke him up. I sat back down in the chair so I could look at their faces. What do we have here? You can't be making a porno film because you don't have any cameras set up. I'll give you a hint, I have 9 cameras all over the house, both upstairs and downstairs. Don't you think that was a good idea? Then I put the prod against the metal clips holding them together. I counted to 3 before I shut it down. I asked you 2 a question. They tried nodding their heads. For 4 years you 2 have been ducking behind my back, so it's time I got some payback, don't you think? I walked to the foot of the bed and placed the cattle prod on Jerry's taint. I held the switch all the way down as I counted to 5 out loud, and then I calmly said, I don't see Shirley's taint, I guess I have to use another target instead, and I slid it up her count. There you go, I like this alternate target, the results should be electrifying, wouldn't you agree, slut? I heard her trying to scream around her gag. I let her scream for a few moments. Then stick that taint of yours out into the open, or I'll just hit the switch right now. She knew what she had to do to save her count, so she raised it up. I counted to 6 because she made me wait. I knew those marks on their taints would be carried for their lifetime. I'm feeling generous, so I'll put the cattle prod away. I wiped my prints off with Jerry's red silk boxers, laughing all the time, then I slid it into her dresser drawer. Well, now that I can't use that, I'll just have to use another means of torture for two dumbass people who so enthusiastically pissed off a chemist and thought he'd never find out, or deliver any consequences. I put on my thinking face. I know, let's have a good old party with family and friends. I called Shirley's parents. I put it on speaker so she could hear the conversation. Her mother answered, "Hello Dale, how's it going with you two?" "Not good, Mom. Shirley isn't feeling too good, and I have to leave on a business trip. Could you and Dad go over and see how she's doing? She's not answering her phone and I'm worried." "Why sure honey, Dad and I were going to watch some TV, but we'll head over in about 10 minutes, and then we'll call you to let you know how she's getting along, okay?" "That would be great. Thank you Mom, just give me a call." I was grinning my ass off. One down, who should be next? "I've got it." I called a second number. "Samantha, how are you doing darling? Say, could you come over? Jerry's here, but he's not looking so good. Maybe you could help me with him." I smiled and gave Jerry a wink. "Okay Dale, just keep him there until I get there." She sounded concerned. "You don't deserve someone like her, Jerry. She's way too good for the likes of you." Time she found out. "Who should I call next?" I patted Jerry on his head. "Well, Shirley has two coming over, and you only have one. I think it's time to even things up a bit." I hit another number. "Mr. Adler, how are you and your wife doing this evening?" "We're doing fine Dale. What can I do for the head of my chemistry department?" Harrison asked. "Well, I know it's kind of late, but Jerry's over here and Samantha is on her way over. So Shirley and I thought you'd like to come over to the house and have a small cocktail party. Would you like to come over?" I said. "I believe we could do that. It's been so long since the wife and I did anything like that. Count us in. We'll be on our way shortly," he said before hanging up. "Thank you for coming Mr. Alder. We're looking forward to seeing you too soon. Give your wife my best." "Thanks for the invite Dale. We'll be there soon," he replied. I looked Shirley in the eyes. "Isn't this fun, Snickums? All our rowdy friends are coming over tonight." All she could do was lay there with tears running down her face. "It's too late for tears, Count. 4 ducking years too late." Then I acted like I had forgotten something. "I know, I'm the only one without a date to this prom. We have to change that, don't we?" I hit the last number I was going to call for the party. "Hello. Lisa my darling, there's a party going on at my house tonight, and I could only think of you as the most deserving person I know that I would care to invite. Please say you'll come." "Dale, are you asking me out?" Lisa asked. "Lisa, the Alders are coming. Both sets of our parents are coming. Even Jerry and Samantha will be here, but I'll only be happy if you were here with me. So what do you say? You're not drunk or pulling my leg, are you?" She sounded a little rushed. "I care for you too much to do that to you, honey. This isn't a joke. I'm asking." I sounded serious for the first time tonight. "To be honest, I got your address from HR today. I have time to come get you if you don't want to drive. I know where you live. I've had your address for the past 6 years. I am your secretary, you know." Then she laughed. "I'll be knocking on your door in 15 minutes. Then the call cut off. "Okay, you two, don't go anywhere. I have to whip up some snacks, real quick." Like then I remembered the new deli 3 blocks away. I found the number and gave them a call. "Lisa beat them by 5 minutes. I thought you said 15 minutes. You want me to go back home and then come back?" She giggled. "Let me show you what I've wanted for a couple of years." Now I took her into my arms and gave her the most passionate kiss that I had ever given to anyone. Is there more where that came from? Her breathing had gotten a little heavier. "You'll find out soon enough." Then I kissed her again. "What about your wife? I don't think she'll stand still for this," Lisa asked. I broke out laughing for a minute. "Well, let's go ask my soon-to-be ex-wife, but I have to get something from the basement first." I ran down and retrieved the laptop and set it on the kitchen table. "Now let's go ask her." Lisa gave me a look like I was crazy. "No honey, crazy was what was going on when I came home. Come here a minute, I've got something to show you." Then I opened up the bedroom door. "Now that is crazy." She walked around the bed, and then bent down to make sure about what she saw. "So how did all this happen?" "I went out for dinner and then came back knowing her and her lover would be screwing each other on our bed. I had made up a couple of canisters of CTR-17 and set them off in the bedroom. They went out like a light. I then secured them as they were for the party tonight, you know, like a centerpiece for the table. Others will be stopping by soon, and I wanted to show off the centerpiece of their infidelity, so the others can enjoy it as well." Lisa walked around to Shirley's face. "You're one stupid witch. But I want to thank you for throwing Dale away, because now I can treat him like he should have been from the beginning. Yep, one dumbass stupid cow. We need to go downstairs, my love. Our guests should be arriving soon. We have to be good hosts and put out the drinks and snacks for them, I laughed. We can always come back for another visit, they're not going anywhere. As a matter of fact, they will be on display all night long. The first to arrive was her parents. Mom asked what I was doing here instead of on the business trip. I couldn't take not knowing, so I blew the trip off and ran back here. I left her upstairs in the bedroom just the way I found her. You and Dad can go up to see her, but I don't think you're going to like what you see. I looked at her. Dad, I'll have the whiskey ready when you come back down. I'll get a glass of wine for Mom as well. Then Samantha came running up to the door. Where's Jerry, Dale? I have to check on him. He's upstairs, Sam. I couldn't believe it either. So I left them as I found them. Then she took off up the stairs. I had already had their drinks poured when Mom and Dad came downstairs. They just looked at me. I'm sorry, but that was the way I found them when I walked into my own home. Your drinks are on the counter, and the snacks are over there as well. Samantha, on the other hand, went off like an army barrage. I never knew she knew so many cuss words. Then I heard a crash. I went to the stairs to see what Sam had done, but she was coming down. Sorry about the lamp, I knocked it over while I was waving my hands around. You got any vodka? Over here, honey. Sorry you had to see all of it, I said. No, Dale, if I hadn't seen it I wouldn't have believed it. Do you have any scissors? I got her a pair from the drawer. She held up 3 credit cards and cut them all in half, and left them on the table. I took all his cash, but $20, and left him with only his car key. My brothers are coming over to pick me up while the other drives my car back to the house. They're spending the night in case he shows up. She looked up at me with the saddest eyes. How about a refill, bartender? Mom walked over to me. She's one screwed up witch for doing this to you. I'm not stupid enough to ask if you could get over this and take her back. I have to leave and think about whether I still have a daughter or not. God, Dale, Dad and I are so sorry that our family messed up you and yours. Not your dad's fault, none of this is on you. I gave her one solid hug as she cried on my shirt. Shirley's parents left right after Sam's brothers came by to pick her up. My mom and dad came next. They went upstairs. Mom came back down after a few minutes, and I gave her a glass of wine. I heard a loud sound and went up to see what was going on. Dad walked out of the bedroom massaging his right hand. I just smacked him a little and the punk passed out on me. I'm going down to see your mother. I walked in and took a look. The whole right side of Jerry's face was already turning black. He was out cold. Then a sour smell got my attention. Urine. They were both covered with it. I went back down and poured a glass of bourbon for my father. I took a few pictures for the family's website, for posterity, you understand. Then when Mom walked out the door, my dad leaned over. Nice touch, son, nice touch. The elders walked in soon after everyone had gone home except for Lisa. We greeted them and they sat down on the couch. Can I offer either of you a drink? I have a nice bottle of red if you would prefer, Gabby. Harrison stood up. I think we will wait until after all business has been settled. Gabby nodded in agreement. So Dale, would you like for us to meet your other guests? Giving me a slightly evil smile. I would be happy to, Harrison. I couldn't help but let out a small chuckle. If you both would follow me, I would be happy to introduce the two of you. I led them upstairs to the master bedroom. Will you look at that, my dear? It seems that I have hired the only CEO in the world who makes house calls. It was obvious that Harrison was planning to enjoy himself with everything going on. I left and got another chair so Harrison could sit next to his wife. Why, thank you, Dale, you're a gracious host indeed. As he sat down, shall we get down to business? Something smells rather unpleasant in here at the moment. Yes, dear, that would be nice. I do smell a touch of the sour in here, now that you mention it, Gabby replied politely. Harrison pulled a short stack of papers from his jacket pocket. Let us begin. He cleared his throat before he began. Jerry Mathers, the company has evidence of your embezzlement and misappropriation of funds, which you withheld information from one Dale farmer for 2 years. You had it routed to an offshore bank account. Said account has been frozen, and the money is on its way back to the USA. You also withheld the promotion information from Mr. Farmer. Well, you stole it from him. The board of the company sees that as theft and embezzlement from not only Mr. Farmer but the company as well. Both sets of charges have been filed in both federal and civil courts. The board sees this as grounds for termination. As I imagine, you're curious as to federal agents stepping in. The FBI has reviewed your offshore banking and found you had broken several laws, including defrauding the bank, as well as wire fraud, and a couple of other charges that they are looking into. Very bad form indeed, Jerry. But I also need to inform you that in the process of helping Mr. Dale Farmer regain his status, you denied him. The board has also filed a civil action against you as well on his behalf. I have one more item of information that I shall leave you with. The so-called golden parachute has been withdrawn by the board, and is to be given to a— sorry, I had the paper right here. Ah, here it is. It will be given to your replacement, Mr. Dale Farmer. The board and I are very disappointed in you and your management skills, so don't look for a letter of recommendation. There is a final piece of business we need to attend to. He waved his hand to his wife. Gabby, the floor is yours. I turned my head to look at Gabby, confused. All I got in return was a very sexy and sly wink. I believe we have talked Jerry's ears off. So I will turn my attention to your soon-to-be ex-wife, Dale. Then she turned her head to look at Shirley. I know you don't know me, so let me introduce myself. My name is Abigail Alders. Does the name ring any bells? Are you sure that you are soon to be sitting on the board of Robinson's Fashion? All Shirley could do was shake her head a little, but enough so she could answer any yes/no questions. Gabby let out a large sigh. In the business world, I am referred to as the owner of Robinson's Fashions. Is it clear enough now? I thought Shirley's eyes were going to fall out of her head. Even I had no idea. After hearing of your trysts with Jerry here, I had my people look through every dealings you had with my company. They're a very thorough group of people, that's why I hired them. I'll bet you thought you were being sly, didn't you? It did take a while, but they found your 1/4% that you'd set up to make it look like an ordinary tax, and attached it to every purchase, after you were made manager of your first apartment with my company so very long ago. My people have found 2 overseas accounts, one in your maiden name, and one in your twin sister's name who died 19 years ago. But you made 2 fatal mistakes. You see, I started Robinson's Fashions on my own. I wouldn't even accept any money from my husband or anyone else. I wanted to prove to myself that I could. I know it's a foreign concept to you, but I made it and I protected viciously. So I know you'll understand when I tell you that, because the courts are open today. I've had my lawyers work with federal officers to make you a thief on the run and a potential flight risk to another country. It was just a bonus for me when the federal agents added the charge of fleeing from federal officers, because you are now a criminal on the run from both federal and local law enforcement officers. As for your second mistake, Gabby snatched Shirley's head as close as possible to her own. Her face was so twisted and red that she looked like a demon from hell itself. Even her voice changed. You ducked with what's mine, you stupid ducking witch. Then she straightened up and smoothed out her dress, and pushed her hair off of her face. When she turned around to her husband and me, she was again the Gabby everybody knows and loves. If it's all the same to you, Dale, I believe I would like that drink now, and walked past us on the way downstairs. I turned to Harrison, raised my finger pointing the way down the hall, and started to open my mouth. Harrison held up both hands and shook his head as he followed Gabby downstairs without saying anything about it. We got downstairs. What is everyone drinking? I asked. I'll have a bourbon. I believe Harrison wants the same, Gabby said. Harrison just shook his head in agreement. Lisa and I both had a double whiskey. We tried to keep a certain distance from Gabby. Oh. Come on everyone, I'm sorry my dark side slipped out, but the amount of money we're talking about was close to $2 million. I take that rather personally. What we need to do is figure out how we're going to handle this storm, Harrison said. We have to be careful to not come out of this covered in the same sheep as those 2 upstairs. Don't worry, I said. I'll play the scapegoat for all of this. Lisa walked over to me. I'm not about to let you stand alone, Dale. You might as well face it, we're a couple now. If you're so blind that you can't see that, I'll take you out back and beat you until you do. Gabby looked at her husband and nodded. You're probably going to come out of all this covered in sheep, you know that, right? Harrison said as I shook his hand. Then as I gave Gabby a hug, she pulled me in tight. You better not lose her, Dale, she whispered, as she stepped over to Harrison standing by the door. She told us to call them if we ever needed anything. We nodded. Everyone was still looking worried. Look, my friends, I got this. Hell, I even have a half-assed plan in my head already, so don't look so down, okay? I smiled at them all. Gabby and Harrison smiled and said their farewells. Then I turned to Lisa. Can you drive? She looked at me strangely, then nodded her head. Great. I need you to go to the store and buy me a burner phone. Make sure you cover your face, so no one can tell what you look like, okay? What have you got up your sleeve, lover? Lisa smiled. Get a move on, please. After I do what I have to do, I'm spending the night at your place. Is that alright with you? My mind was running a mile a minute. I had barely finished talking when Lisa said quickly, going to the store, and then she was out the door and down the street. I stood still for a minute, making sure I was ready to do what needed to be done. I went upstairs and walked into the bedroom. I went into the closet and found the heavy suitcases we use when traveling. I called it the Timex collection, you know, takes a licking and keeps on ticking. I swung it up in a high arch, brought it down on top of the 2 of them, rather hard I might add. I lifted it up. Could you hold this for a minute? And then dropped it back down on them. I packed some clothes and a few toiletries, then took a pair of khaki lightweight pants and a pullover shirt, crumpled them up, and tossed them in as well. Then I dragged the suitcase off of them and set it down on the floor. I went back into my closet and traded my leather shoes for a comfortable pair of deck shoes. Damn, I need some underwear and a couple of t-shirts. I took the suitcase back over to the bed again, then I swung it up and back on top of them again. Look, just hold this for a minute. I forgot underwear and a few t-shirts. I dropped it back down on them, and loaded what I needed. I lifted it back up and slapped Shirley's head to get her attention. Hey, did you do a load of whites? I can't find my socks. I was rather enjoying this, I must say. Sheep, that's right. I rearranged my dresser drawers and put them in the second down, dropped the suitcase again. When I had everything packed, I slammed the suitcase lid down. Then I remembered how much pain they caused me. I got up on the bed and then sat down on the suitcase to close it up, bouncing up and down once or twice. Then I dragged it off them and noticed some nice new bruises were starting to show. Okay, it looks like I have everything I need packed up. I reached down and pinched Shirley's cheek like Grandma used to do. Alright, you two play nice, and if you've been good, I'll bring you both back some new orange jumpsuits. You love them so much that that's all you will want to wear all the time. I got downstairs and made myself a drink. Lisa returned a few minutes later. I asked her, "Are you ready?" "It's just about showtime." Lisa just nodded her head. I activated the new phone, putting all the evidence back in the bag. Then I called every news channel and newspaper in town, letting them know there was a federal fugitive who was being arrested at 6724 Downey St. They were holed up in a private residence at that address. Then I called the local FBI office and police on my phone and told them that the two fugitives they were looking for were in my house and that I came home to find them in the bedroom. I tried to do something, but the man attacked me suddenly and forced me out of the door and locked it. I told them my keys were inside because when I get home I always put them in the dish by the door. A few college friends that I knew were walking down the street. I pulled a muscle or stretched a tendon in my groin, and they came over to help. They told me they found the back door open and went upstairs to confront them. They came downstairs and told me they had subdued them with some stuff that was lying around the room. "Are they still on the premises, sir?" the officer asked me. "I believe so, officer. I kept hearing loud sounds, but everything is quiet up there now," I replied. "We have units in the area close to that address, and we'll be sending some support units to assist them." "Where are you now, sir? You're not being threatened or in harm's way, are you?" he asked. "No, sir, I'm laying on the couch and a friend from work is with me. I can hardly move with my bum leg," I replied. I lay down on the couch, then had Lisa grab the baseball bat in the closet, and then we sat down and waited to see who would get there first. They came in this order: the police, then the news crews, leaving the feds for last. Which we thought was funny as the federal offices were the closest of them all. "So you are Mr. Dale Farmer, and you are, ma'am?" He dropped into a chair. "My name is Lisa Boyd. I came over to see how he was doing after his trip. I arrived to see a man push him down onto the concrete porch, then pick him up and force him out into the front yard. When I got to him, he could barely walk." "I see," said the officer. Then he looked at me. "You told the desk sergeant some college friends came by to help you." "Sometimes I helped students out with their class projects, like my neighbor's child," I told the officer. "Okay, can you give me their names?" the officer asked as he wrote down some notes. "I'm afraid I can't. You see, they told me to keep their names out of this as they're getting ready to graduate. 2 are going for their masters, while the other 4 already have jobs lined up, and they don't want anything to jeopardize their future." I told them I would respect their wishes. Sorry, I adjusted myself a little on the couch and acted out a nice wince and moan. "Lisa, could you go to the bathroom, and in the cabinet are some Advil. Would you get me a couple, please?" Lisa went upstairs and she had to have an officer accompany her. "I'll just take the bottle downstairs so I won't have to bother all of you again. Would that be alright?" she asked the officer. He just nodded and followed her back to the stairs. She came back down, walked over to the couch, put 2 pills in my hand, and then went into the kitchen for a glass of water. Just as she sat down, 3 officers came in with bolt cutters and went up the stairs. It was an hour later that 2 ambulances arrived to pick them up. Apparently, they had been in one position for so long that even trying to straighten any of their limbs out caused them great pain. I loved it when the EMTs had to roll them out before the large crowd that had gathered outside of my house. The lights for the camera crews and the flashes from the reporters were going non-stop as they wheeled them out, and then tried to find the best way to get them into the ambulances. The detective told me that I would have to sleep somewhere else that evening as the house had been declared a crime scene. Lisa spoke right up. "He can stay in the guest room at my house, so you can reach him there when you're all done here." She gave the officer her address and home phone number, in case they had to ask us anything else, or when I could come back to the house. The officer agreed and then helped her to stand me up. I went out onto the porch where I gave a small press conference, answering all the questions they asked me. Near the end, I noticed the man in charge of the FBI had come out of the house. I called him over and made a show to express my gratitude for all officers who came to help. With our cameras running and all the recording devices nearby, I asked him one final question. Agent Copeland, with everything that has happened, her being my wife and him being my boss, plus they were subdued in my home, and I was the one who called all the law enforcement officers represented here. Do I still get the $10,000 reward offered on the TV news that said you were offering for their capture? Harrison waited a week before announcing my promotion to make it look good. Both Shirley and Jerry were served divorce papers while awaiting their trials. There wasn't any problem with them going through. I had asked to speak to her one final time, but she told the guards a firm no. When they told her I was there. A year later, my wife Lisa and I welcomed our son, Dale Harrison Farmer, into the world. I sent a picture of all of us to Shirley. They told me she went into fits of anger, and then attacked the guard who gave it to her. While she was in solitary, she burned both my letter as well as the picture. P.S. I did get the reward, so I took the family on a little vacation. Let me know your thoughts on this story. And see you later soon. To all the guys who worried about me, I feel better. We'll tell you later more on community post. Thank you all for your support. Cheers.